Scott, one other question is that most people forgot that Israel struck Syrian targets just yesterday. There was no war in Syria yesterday. There was no Druze community being attacked. So I'm just trying to, again, try to understand the end game. They just killed a few hours ago, potentially. They tried to kill the peace negotiators, the Hamas peace negotiators, just as Trump made a new peace proposal. Yesterday, they struck Syrian targets at a time when they're supposed to normalize relations, or at least take steps towards normalizing relations, or stop. I think there was a discussion having a buffer zone south of Syria on that border, and for Israel to stop striking Syrian targets. I thought things were improving. I mentioned that to Tom Barak. He seemed optimistic. And then we have Lebanon. Hezbollah still being struck in Lebanon. What's the end game in the Middle East? What's the end game in Gaza? And what's the end game for Lebanon and Syria? And even Yemen, we had the entire leadership of Yemen assassinated just a couple of weeks ago, I think it was.
Well, I was struck by something you said earlier. You said Israel's winning on all fronts. No, Mario, Israel's losing on all fronts. There's not a single front that Israel's winning in. There's not a single front you can tell me Israel's winning in. I would challenge you to if you think Israel's winning somewhere, you tell me where. They're not winning in Yemen. Yemen's still striking targets in Israel. They haven't intimidated the Houthi at all. They're not winning in Iran. Iran's nuclear program, no one knows what's going on there. Fear the worst. Iran has a ballistic missile program that wasn't taken out by the Israelis. They just tested some of the most advanced ballistic missiles imaginable. And they're telling the Israelis, if there's a round two on this one, we knock you out from the start. And Israel understands that reality. They're not winning against Hamas. Every day, Israeli soldiers are being butchered. The Israeli army can't mobilize their reserves. They're demoralized. They're not winning politically. The whole world's turning against them. They're not winning economically. They can't get investors in Israel because of the ongoing blockade that's taking place. They're not winning anywhere. There's not a single place Israel is winning. They're losing. So what is the end game? The end game is Israel loses.
I'll ask you this, though. The war started with Hamas getting support from Hezbollah, that everyone thought Israel would not strike Hezbollah because Hezbollah could strike back. They had many missiles that could strike deep into Israeli territory. Iran was not striking Israel, but everyone was worried about Iran getting involved. Yemen was striking Israel with ballistic missiles. And we had even, all these different groups in Iraq attacking US bases at various times. Now there's crickets. Hezbollah's, there hasn't been any rockets from Hezbollah towards Israel. Barely any rockets from Hamas. There's daily rockets from Hamas into Israel. That stopped completely. Yemen, once in a while, you see a missile or a drone fly there. And Iran, obviously, Iran's Iran. They still have their nuclear program, most likely. But we do know that their military capabilities were severely destroyed. I do agree with you.
No,
that
we don't know. We don't know that, Mario.
Globally.
We don't know that. What military capabilities were severely destroyed? The Air Force wasn't destroyed. Air defense has been
60% of missiles.
Who says? Israel? Israel says? Look, I did battle damage assessments during wartime, and I'm telling you right now, on week 2 of the Gulf War, we had killed 64 mobile launchers when Iraq only had 19. So I'm just telling you right now, the Israelis have a propensity of exaggerating. It was Israel that asked for the ceasefire, Mario. You know that. You know Israel asked for. Why? Because they were running out of air defense assets, and Iran was not running out of missiles. So let's not pretend that this is somehow an Israeli victory. Hezbollah and Hamas, by the way, pulled out of the Lebanese government the other day, and there's a good chance that they will be firing their systems back up if that's what Israel wants. Hezbollah never wanted to get involved in this. There was no collusion between Hamas and Hezbollah. Hezbollah simply said, we will support Hamas by distracting Israel in the north, but Hezbollah never took it to the next level. Iran never wanted to get directly involved in this conflict. They always said, and Hamas never asked them. Hamas always said, we've got this under control. Let us do what we're doing. Because Hamas had a vision of sucking Israel into Gaza and letting Israel be Israel, which is what Israel has done. And now the world sees Israel for what it is. So let's not create artificial victories where there was no battle.
You don't consider the fall of Assad, Hezbollah stopping their rockets, and even talking about disarming if Israel pulls out. So Hezbollah said, we'll disarm, which no one expected them to say, if Israel pulls out to pass the Litani River or back outside Lebanese territory. And Hamas's rocket capabilities have been...
Hezbollah was created as a resistance movement. Hezbollah's only reason for continuing to exist is that Israel continues to occupy southern Lebanon. The Sheba farms have always been it. Hezbollah has always said, If Israel leaves Lebanese soil, there is no longer a need for the Hezbollah resistance. This has been part of Hezbollah's reason for being for day one. So let's not pretend that Hezbollah existed to get rid of Israel. Hezbollah didn't exist to get rid of Israel. Hezbollah exists to get Israel out of Lebanese soil. So when Hezbollah says, if Israel leaves southern Lebanon, we're done, that was their mission. That's why they transitioned from being a resistance movement to a political party. They want to be part of the Lebanese government. And that's why they're now telling the Lebanese government that if you insist on our disarmament while allowing Israeli troops to continue to occupy southern Lebanon, we're not part of your government. And then something big will happen again. Hezbollah is not a bunch of wimps, weaklings. Remember, yes, Nasrallah was killed. Yes, Israel bombed a bunch of sites. But on the ground, every time Hezbollah went up against the Golani or went up against any of the special, they beat them. Hezbollah didn't lose a ground fight in this most recent conflict. Every time the Israelis went up against a dug-in Hezbollah position, they had to retreat. They got beat. This is the reality of Hezbollah. These aren't a bunch of little punk-ass kids. They are hardened warriors, just like Hamas. Ask the Israelis right now why they really don't want to go into Gaza City. Because they're going to die. That's the reality of it. Israel hasn't won anything. Yes, look, you expect to see buildings blow up when you have this American-provided Air Force and no air defense. I mean, my God, how brave do you have to be an Israeli pilot to fly circles around Gaza, pinpointing the targets where the women and children are trying to get water and bombing them, blowing up buildings. Hey, yeah, God, Israel's awesome. They're tearing down the tall buildings of Gaza. This is not a victory. This shows how weak Israel actually is because they can't defeat Hamas any other way. They don't know how to defeat Hamas. They don't know how to defeat Hezbollah. They don't know how to defeat Iran. They don't know how to defeat Yemen. Just because Iran and Hezbollah aren't firing into Israel, they never wanted to begin with. It wasn't their objective to begin with. It was Israel's actions that created the necessity for Iran to fire missiles into Israel, not the other way around.
Alex?
Hezbollah was brought into this conflict because that was the way that you pull in Iran. That was it. The way I saw it is they had to get Hezbollah, they had to get this Hezbollah connection in there because that was the